niche market. Going back, remember what Bailey talked about earlier with the audience insights, and make sure that are you aligned? You think in your mind that you know, but go back into the audience insights tool and actually take a look at who is your target audience before you boost. I really would challenge you to do that. You think that you know who you're talking to, but if you go back and look at your page likes and your demographics, you might be a little bit surprised as to who you need to talk to and who you thought you needed to talk to. So take some time on the front end to take a look at that, maybe every 6 months or so. This is just kind of fun to know, because if you're going to spend $50 on a boosted post, which is a lot, you'll get some really great traction. This is what you can do with your $50. In other words, all these $50 worth of eyeballs were really potential customers. I got it down to female coffee lovers. This is for Twice Daily. We were pitching their social campaign. Between the ages of 18 and 40, who have kids, who their kids play sports, who are on their way to sporting events between the hours of 4:20 and 8 p.m. I mean, that's how narrowly you can create your audience. Would you use that audience again? If you're them, yes. And so save your audiences is what I'm telling you to do. And once you've done that effort once, you'll now have a choice in the drop-down menu of all the different ones that you've created before. It's worth the effort because now you know your money is being so well spent. Any questions about boosted posts? All right, interrupt me at any time, you're not bothering. So setting your budget, you can run it for, and this is going to give you a really good idea here, right? So for 20 bucks, now this is not a really good idea here, because this is $20 for 700-800 people, but we don't know what the audience set was. Okay, so sometimes for $20, it might be 15,000 people. It depends where your audience setting is. And so you'll have to play around with that and what looks right for you and what feels right for the ad spend. I would always go with 7 days. 14 days, it really peters out, but 7 days is a great sweet spot to run your promotion. Even a 1 day, you'll get a lot of eyeballs on it. If you're having a sale for something, that's a good move. So, again, boosting at $5 for every post is going to get you some fantastic return. Again, talking about boosted posts, if you want to give away to your exclusive inner circle, they have a boost to my followers. That's pretty cool. So remember, our followers are only seeing us once every 3 posts. So if we boost to our own followers, it's going to be a chance for all of your faithful, linen and rust peeps to really have a chance at that sale before you open the sale to the general public. Now they feel I get something out of being her follower. I really have value there. And maybe you want to offer tickets to a speaker to only the followers. And now people are going, hey, you got to follow her because she's giving you to do. It's that kind of a thing. So people are like, why would I boost to the people that already like me? Well, what if you have something to say to them? These are your best customers anyway. So boosting to your followers is actually a great move. And say, follower only, thanks for following, that kind of a thing. It's a great tool. I think it's overlooked. And then of course, if you have them tag or share, now you're just getting all these new followers because there's a reason to be with you. Relationship, sorry. So these are some boosted post results. This is what you're going to see. So you're going to be able to see what was my cost per click, cost per engagement, user, all of this. It's really hard to see, I'm sure, across the room, but I can see the link clicks, the post engagement, the reach. Reach is going to be the amount of people that saw, that their eyeballs saw that post, if that makes sense. And then impressions are going to be the same people that saw it that might have seen it twice. So they had an impression of it, but it's based off their reach. So, and again, you can see the ad spend, when it ends, and people that took the survey or whatever it is. You can see all of those results. So you can make sure that you're spending the right way. Another move is if it did really well, reboost it. Again, people didn't see it. You might be surprised by that. Reboost something that did well. It did well for a reason. Your stuff is killing mine with Innovate, by the way. I don't want to forget to tell you.
What, really?
Yeah. You're just murdering me. So let's talk about the ROI and the results. I think we only have one person here from the agency side, but this is important for all of us. So this is a tool that is going to you want your website on everything that you do. But you don't want over and over again to be like StewartTransportation.com, PartyPeopleNashville.com. I mean it's old hat. So it's for two reasons. This is taking your website or your landing page, right? So if we want to sell this specific pillow, as a user, I do not want to go to your website and find the pillow. Give me the pillow link. I don't want to search. I'm going to abort the mission. All right. So if I'm looking for your blog on Greece, you gotta send me straight to Greece. I don't want to go to Peru. I'm going to be very frustrated with you. Spinning wheel of death. I'm out. So using this URL tool is twofold. First, it's giving you that shortened URL, which is everybody likes it. And it also has a certain amount of mystery there. Second is that it's going to be able to give you trackable results. So now you can figure out the individual post by post. So this is kind of exciting for me. A couple days ago, we spent $140 on a client in a month. Very low ad spend. And I was able to see which post. We sold 4 items at $45 a piece. So actually for marketing, we were ahead. So I was like super proud to give the results. And I could say to her, hey, you know what posted well is when I posted this thing from CNN Moms. This one, I could drill down right into exactly which post that led them to purchase, which is amazing if you're trying to explain it to clients, or if you just want to know for your personal knowledge where do they go and how do they get there and what brought them there. So you can pivot your efforts towards what's working and what's not working and drop the duds. It's also going to give credibility to your efforts as well. So when you go into this simple, and I'll give you the URL in just a little bit. This is what you see at the top. This is at the bottom, and I put the campaign source is going to be what the post was. So I feature these 2 factory workers at this medical company, and this is their website. And then at the bottom, I put February Facebook. So I'm keeping myself really, really organized. So when I want to go back and pull this data, I have it all at my use. If I just put in the website, okay, and you just put in your blog, you're never going to know how people are getting to you and what to amp up and what to stop doing and wasting your time. So it's an extra little layer, but the layer is super, super useful, and it links straight to your Google Analytics, which is phenomenal data. Any questions with any of that? Did I miss anything?
I have something kind of unrelated.
Yeah.
Sort of. So you just mentioned that you did a featured post on 2 factory workers, right? So as a company that's managing your social media, obviously you're not on the ground there.
Yeah.
So what Jazz and I run into is we don't travel with our team. We're not with them to capture the content in real time, and they're too busy to do it. So what I'm wondering is how do you even do you have to go to it? You do. You have to go and...
Because here's the other thing. If you're going to rely on everybody else, right, which is what we run into with some of our clients when we're running your social media campaign, nobody wants to take their picture. No one. Ever. No. Definitely they don't want to take it to you and send it to you. You are the lowest of the low.
Right.
You're the person that everyone's like, oh, great. So I just, there's no shame in my game. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Unfortunately for you, you'll have to come up with a system that you either are incentivizing it, or you're going to go to one show and you are going to video the ever living out of it. You are just going to use it over and over, and you're going to keep that in mind as you take pictures and gather content. To okay, I've used you so much, so hey, stay by the bus. I mean, you're really gonna just. We just did 1 day of content gathering. We were there for the full day, and we just took all day video and pictures, all day long. And it will change sort of, how you see your store and how you travel and how, kind of how you see your warehouse, because you'll be able to do different things with that piece of content. But yeah, Liz, I would go to one event and just go ham. For the whole day.
And even bring changes of clothes for people too.
Oh, totally.
So that it doesn't look like you were there But it's like your media day for almost the whole next 6 months.
We have just, like, we've assigned for some shows, like, we have a couple people on our team that are pretty, I mean, I guess social media savvy. So we're assigning them, like, as, like, the on-the-ground person to help us with that. But it's just been a constant struggle for us to, get timely content that's relevant to what's going on right then. So that's why I was.
The other thing is maybe, so I think it's important to even consider like posting internship positions in the cities that you're going to be in and have younger high school or college students who are interested in video production or even marketing or social media, and get them to go document as much as they can and send, like, pay them by how many hours of content that they can upload to Dropbox for you or something, and then you have it, or how timely you need it, like even texting you videos in the vertical and in the portrait and the landscape, so that you can use them for different, like, Instagram
and then maybe
stories
having it be
and
like,
stuff.
hey, just add to your snapshot story like 10 times today, will you? And then going in there and taking screenshots of those snaps. I mean, that's another way to do it. It's less like, hey, video all night. Like, hey, do some cool snaps tonight. That's a lot easier ask maybe for like a younger, person that's on the ground.
Yeah.
Let's think about it, for sure. I think it's
a really big struggle for us.
It is. It's a struggle for everybody because, we all can't be everywhere. I mean, you can't go to every event.
No, and what you guys just said is exactly what we've had to do. And in fact, ESPN does. I mean, a lot of games, if you watch, I don't know if you guys watch sports, but a lot of the ESPN, they've laid off so many people that are in front of the camera because they're really broadcasting on location, but the people are sitting somewhere else. And they're just getting interns at all of those local places. And I have 2 videos on my phone right now from an athlete. I said, hey, I need this video, and I got a landscape portrait. We've used it several times. We have internships for photographers, video, streaming, announcers, and people are just sitting around wanting to do it.
That's
Some of
great.
them are unpaid, but
Yeah.
but they'll do it like you said. I mean, everything you said, I may have learned it from you last time. I don't know, but
Yep, there's no silver bullet, I guess, is the answer.
you can't be everywhere.
And
But you need content.
when you do, though, like, just getting everything you possibly can.
Yeah.
One thought I was gonna say is maybe doing like a promotion to give the customers value and incentive for them to create the content, and then like maybe tag you, like if you do some sort of giveaway, and then you don't have the issues about like having to get a release from people
that's
to
another whole
use their
other-
pictures, because it's like if they do it, as part of a promotion, and in your promotion rules you say any, pictures you submit become our property, blah, 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 all the legal mumbo jumbo. Then it's just like not only are they posting to their networks,
Right.
then you can also take that information and put it on, use the content yourself, and it's like doing double duty for you. And
Right.
you may have to do something like, if you post a picture, we'll enter you to win a gift card or like something else. But it's a small price to pay for that kind of thing. Just a thought.
That's a good thought.
Do I need to have everyone in here sign a photo release, Miss Attorney?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but no.
The other thing that is helpful too is sometimes incentivizing it. Like, I know that the woman that works with the mobile cards, she's having all the internal people follow and like and do, and like having all of her team starting like in-house, and she's giving away like silly things and kind of telling, and then she's gonna have a meeting where we were gonna come in and tell them, look, it's really important for you guys to engage with the users and for you to share and like, and I mean, you guys are us, so come on, like, get on board with social media because it's selling these. So, help us out.
Connecting the dots for them.
And sort of, and maybe making something fun out of it, where you're having a contest now, where the first 5 people to submit 5 photograph, pictures or videos are going to be entered to win, the $200, hotel upgrade or whatever, something that you may already have. Maybe incentivizing everybody like to help you would be, I don't know if that's in your budget, but it might be something that would be kind of cool. This is a list of resources. Boomerang Pexels, Fonto. Fonto, if you haven't used it, is basically, ooh, you'll like this. That is Canva on your phone. Canva on your phone. So if you're on Instagram and you don't want to like go find it from Pinterest or wherever you're taking stuff, or it's too grainy, you know how after sharing it gets just kind of gross. Make it yourself. And Fonto, it's mobile only, and you can just it overlays your pictures. It's really beautiful, like quality stuff. I think that's what Paul really likes. So Fonto's for your phone, Canva is for your desktop, and Canva is life. It is everything. Medium, we've talked about the blogging platform. So go start an account. It's $3.99, my favorite price. Facebook Audience Insights, Bailey talked to you about that. Make sure, do a deep dive in that. See what's going on, who's liking, who is my audience already, and make sure that you're talking to them, not just who you think you should be talking to. Buffer and Hootsuite, we don't love them, but they work. In a pinch, if that's something that you need, is better than nothing. Pinterest, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Pinterest. Steal. Especially memes and infographics are really fun off of Pinterest. GIF Maker, we talked about that. Try a GIF, you'll be really surprised. Again, copy, go to the end, and then out everything. Like reverse engineer that one. And then this is the dev tools. I'm sorry that it's obnoxious. It's kind of ironic that this is the most obnoxious URL when I'm supposed to streamline your ROI. But here we go. This is it. You'll have this. Use it. Don't just put your website because it is tracking to nothing. And I'm going to share this with you by the end of the day or tomorrow morning, and you will have it. Any questions about any of these resources? Anything I'm missing that anybody uses that they really like, that they feel like other people don't know about, and to share?
I really like an app called UNUM, and if you're big into like pre-planning your Instagram posts, it's a really great way to show you everything that you've done before, and also like, okay, well I've done 3 graphics in a row with text, and so now I need to do a person's face. There needs to be a person's face here, and like color planning, and you can go ahead and preset all of your hashtags, and it will save your hashtags. It will save tags, and you can upload immediately to multiple platforms straight from there.
The saving of the hashtags.
UNUM. Because like you're sitting there, you're like, what should I post?
Oh, that's great. That's cute. Thank you. That's awesome.
Sometimes I'll save my hashtags and notes in my phone, and then just go paste them.
Yeah, that's
Like
good.
just groups with different hashtags.
Smart.
There's one that I just started using. It's called Prime, and it's supposed to tell me when my followers, when they're online the most, like what times, and then it'll remind me to
What's
post
it called?
Prime.
Good ones. Anybody else?
Another photo editor tool that I have is Aviary, I really like, and a color story. I mean, you really have to get into, you kind of have to know about some photography aspects, but you can play around with it. You can add filters and kind of stuff like that.
Color stories for like filters.
Yeah, but you can, I think a lot of bloggers use it for like, especially home decor type stuff, so you can really amp up your pictures. You can take a boring picture and, make it look really cool, so, yeah.
Does it remove like muffin top?
No, but there's Facetune.
I mean, yeah, those are amazing. So, research and understand your audience. I am going to embarrass you here, but this is a beautiful picture. And I think that if you do, and if you feature other folks, they're going to be so much more engaged. I just totally jacked her picture off Facebook, and then I put that over it. I put that over it. Now, and everybody isn't that a beautiful picture?
Yeah.
I know. I thought so too. So I was like, man. And so I could put this now as, if I'm a party planning person, she's going to talk about maybe her story and how she was inspired by another female who is going for it. Valerie's going to I'll just brag on you. It's so cool. She's going to be taking a year and going like traveling the world. So it's pretty cool. But that's the perfect thing. Now not only are you, now what you want her to do is share this on a retweet, like reshare situation while you are still in it. Does that make sense? Without backing you out of it and copy and pasting it and just her just snarking it. You want her just to go, and then now she is engaged that way. But going in and finding these folks and then making them, having that feel good Liz moment. Liz is liking me probably. Liz might tell somebody else, and that's the point. So you could give like a shout out here for so many. I can see all of us doing this in a different way, but drilling down into the individual. So let's talk about how to get unstuck, because you're so used to what you have that this is the problem for everyone. And we'll come up with ideas and like, oh my God, that's so great, such a great idea. I want to talk about Kevin Hart there, but anyway, the point is that the best thing to do sometimes is just have this conversation with somebody else, and try, somebody that's kind of out there and like me. Give people a shout out, stalk them. We talked about that. I probably should not say stalk, but you get. Everything cannot be on brand, so back out of that. You don't need to put your logo and everything, because right now on Facebook, when we see that logo, what are we thinking?
Selling.
You're selling. I don't want it anymore. I'm turned off by it, in fact, the logo. It has the reverse effect of what, like, if you went to marketing school, it's the opposite now. So you need to feel so much more native on these platforms. And most people have not figured that out. Screenshot your website. I mean, there's beautiful parts of your website, interesting parts. Go ahead and just take a screenshot and repost that, or at least copy and paste from it. There's easier ways to schedule these posts if you're in a pinch, to do this without feeling like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me 6 hours. Do a GIF every month and just reuse it. Don't maybe try and be making one on Sunday night to post all week, a new something. You've got stuff there in front of you, try to find it and use it. Influencers are a good way. That could be a whole different thing. But start thinking about who you want to look like and do what they're doing. Talk to them, DM them. That's a really good way to get in with some of these other folks. Finding a follower and thanking them, of course we talked about that. And then just document. Don't necessarily feel like you're constantly having to create. In the medical field, Samantha's got like beautiful moments, I'm sure. And if you could just, as they are walking out, be like, hey, really quick, can I just hear about your experience? It's for a project I'm doing. And then at the end, then you have them sign away. Because if you say, it's on the website, it's not happening. But if you say, hey, or they're shy, feel out the moment, just audio. Record it and just have a chat with them, then do some pull quotes. You got the big graphic and the pull quote, that's like a special moment. It's involving a customer. What's your Facebook? Oh, I'm gonna tag you in this. Oh, thank you so much for your time, really appreciate it. And then she's like, oh, got the fuzzy feeling, she might review you, and it just snowballs in that direction. So use what you have. I think we think that we have to I think we're looking at so many other things and it's crowding our mind. Like you're looking at beautiful National Geographic and all these other things. Stay in your lane. You've got some good stuff in there, and just kind of like a refresh of what you've got already. Anything else I'm missing on how to get unstuck that we think of, or?
I have something to say.
We interview people a lot.
Yeah. Taking voice memo is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you do an interview with somebody, you can always go back to that and pull more quotes from it. So that's good to just do for like a Canva post, put the quotes in the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
One is creating a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to talk to people about what they do, what their story is, and then you have one podcast, you have at least a dozen posts off of that, and one long form blog or multiple long form blogs.
That's how we met Fallon. Is Fallon and I met each
then
other.
you can't get rid of the interviewee. They just stick around and keep coming and stuff,
I like
and
that.
you guys can't shake me now.
It's
Yeah,
a biz dev thing too.
So that's how we met Fallon. Is
Relationship
I was at an event with her, and I said, "Hey, my husband does this podcast, and you do social media. Well, that'd be cool. If you got on the podcast together." And then we've used and helped each other out in lots of different ways. And it was from kind of starting out with the content in mind, and then that relationship it all just snowballs.
So free tool for that. I
Yeah.
don't know if we have this in here.
No, we don't.
Anchor.fm. It's a app. So in the App Store, go to just search Anchor, and then on the web, go to anchor.fm. And it is my favorite app of all time, because if Anchor existed in 2006, I would have done nothing but record my conversations with my friends about fantasy football and turned them into podcasts. You can record you can record phone conversations with multiple people.
I would never want to hear what I had to say in 2000.
I would have had, I don't know how many listeners it would have had, but that's how I would have spent all my time. It is the most fun app I've ever used, and it's like free. It's free, like audio recording and editing right there in the app. And then you can also drag. So if you do, like, this whole video could end up being a podcast in theory, because you can add like an intro and then interludes and an outro to it, and you can drag the whole MP4 file into the web browser on Anchor, and then that can become your podcast. So it'll go live for 24 hours, then you can create an episode, and when you create an episode, it'll syndicate it to all the podcast apps native on phones, and Spotify, iTunes, basically anywhere you can, Audible, anywhere you would listen to.
And so if you're not a
podcast.
writer or a blogger, take pieces out of that and just transcribe it almost into a blog, like kind of rewrite it a little bit, turn it into a blog. That way you're still blogging for SEO purposes and sending people to your website, and you've got a separate piece of content, and you didn't feel like the pressure to create. It's just sort of like, hey, why do you order from us for your, tape needs versus somebody else? What are we able to provide on a customer service level? And then, maybe that person goes off for a minute, and that's fantastic. That's all you would need to be able to get what you need to bear. Just kind of a recap, Facebook cares about the user and not you. The more that you realize that you don't matter on Facebook and that you need to create that interaction, the better traction, and then, of course, the better that you're going to have people landing back to your site because they're seeing your content. Think like a user and a marketer. I think the user is what you need to have in your mind at all times. If you're going to be on that platform, then you, again, need to be on that platform in the way that it was intended to be used, not in your mind, which is, sell. Because that's the number one reason people are unfollowing you. And again, if nobody interacts with you, no one will see your stuff. So go off brand and have no fear in doing so. I want to talk really fast about local SEO because we have time. Any questions before we move into local SEO? It's pretty quick. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to jump into this conversation too, because I know Brian is probably thinking a lot about SEO, and maybe other people are too. I think the reason why we wanted this class to be so focused around content is because there's so many different things you can do technically for SEO, and we can get into that as well if anyone has any questions. But we wanted the class to be focused around content because that's how you really go to what's next. Like, you can do a set of tasks on a website one time and then learn how to do those tasks in the source code for future content updates. But then after that, unless Google changes something significantly, it's really just on your content and on your ability to build popularity online. So everything around social media and building an audience is going to help your SEO, because like I said, by the time you do all the proper setup technically, then it's about getting popularity, traffic, and then you move up the rankings. So but on the local side, we'll jump into that, and that's kind of like its own separate set of tasks that also help with local SEO.
Talk through as well, I think it's really, I wish I had a slide on it, but you can speak to it. Organic search versus social for just a regular client, or just an average client. What are the numbers that you see usually?
In Google Analytics, about 50 to 60% of web traffic comes from a channel called organic search. So that would be people searching for brands on the search engines. 95% of that is Google. So Bing and Yahoo make up the other 5% total. So it really is Google. The reality, though, is if you dig into the keywords, about 80% of the keywords are branded. So they already know the business's name. So there's also a channel called direct, and direct is when you type any URL into the address bar. So if you think about the data, what that really means is that organic search channel and direct combined make up about 75% of all web traffic, and that's people already know your brand. They're already familiar with you. Social media makes up 15 in 2017. Social media made up 15% of web traffic, which was up 9% from the previous year. So while 15% doesn't seem like a huge number, it actually represents like the largest referral source to websites that doesn't indicate that the brand, that users already know what the brand is. So as it relates to really like trying to go out and get net new eyeballs on your brand, it's really on social media more than people think it is. People think it's on SEO and Google search, but it's really more on social media than what people think it is based on the data.
It is. We have a couple of SEO clients that have been doing SEO for a while, and the report I just sent to one of them just a couple of days ago, and it surprised me. Most of his website traffic is coming from Facebook, and I do his Facebook posts and things like that. So that made me feel pretty good. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And you probably know tools like Moz and other similar tools like SEMrush. I mean, they're all tracking the amount of mentions as well as backlinks from other social media channels. And the reason why they do that is because Google wants to serve you the most relevant content to the searcher. And so how does a computer algorithm monitor that? And one way is, there's many ways, but one way is on social media, how many people are mentioning or linking back to a domain name that isn't that brand, right? So there's an indicator that the biggest SEO companies in the world are basically telling you through their data, you need to be on social media in order to have good SEO.
The other thing that Paul and I always end up finding ourselves saying, like, especially when we leave a meeting, like, Facebook, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what's your other idea?
Right.
Like, what is your other idea? Like, do you want to put a billboard up? Like, what's the other plan? Because social media is like the answer. I mean, that's the only thing that we're all on constantly. I mean, we're not even watching Netflix anymore. Like, I mean, stuff is just so rapidly dying, and this is the only thing that's staying tried and true. So that's kind of the other thing is, if you're not going to do social media, we've had people push back, oh gosh, social media, because our brand is so, protected. And it's like, okay, well then what is the plan? What else is there? What's your other choice? It's just not. Yeah, it's not there.
That's such a good point. And if you look at, when we look at web data, like, so let's take that company that or type of people that Kate's talking about. Let's look at their Google Analytics. Their traffic's still coming from Facebook. So what that says is, even though they're not posting on Facebook, other people are posting about them. And so there really is no way to control your message. I think everybody's probably bought into that now, but take a brand that's getting traffic from Facebook or even Twitter and LinkedIn show up, and they're never posting, they barely even have a profile optimized. If that brand takes that interest that's out there and actually starts posting one time a week and then ramping up to one time a day, and even 2 to 5, 5 times a day is a lot, but even 2 to 5 times a day, their web traffic skyrockets, and it's quality web traffic. So sounds like you're experiencing some of that with some of your work, so that's awesome.
Dylan, what is the woman's name who is the cookie company?
Cupcake Mignon. It's the Cupcake Collection.
The Cupcake Collection.
Mm-hmm.
She is fire on social media.
Yeah.
16-year-old runs her
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking like, hundreds of thousands of followers. I mean, she is blown up. And she has 17, like her niece does it, and she just kills it. Another idea would be maybe take it off of your plate. You know you want to do it, take it off of your plate and have somebody else help you with it, sending you stuff, and then you're the one that ultimately will curate those, put them in the post, and then run your URL, because you don't necessarily want to do all that. They don't have that you have, but they might have the other piece that you're able to do. Just something else just to maybe think about others that might be within your, especially that younger demographic. She's killed it with it. and I think she started when she was 15, so now she's like 18. It's crazy, and that was a great move. So let's talk a little bit about local SEO. This is the last thing that we want to talk about. Local SEO meaning that your directory listings are all in sync. Your Google My Business verification is on point, and the review generation strategy. This is hard to read, but do you want to go through this? This is more your wheelhouse, this slide especially.
Yeah. Local business directory listings it's this concept that the internet's been around for like 25-ish years, and in that history, if you think about back, like when I think about back to like 2005, and at that time I was managing more on the client side of marketing and like buying media, and so I would get hit up all the time by this new business directory site that had started that was like a different version of yellowpages.com that had created a listing for me, and I now needed to pay them $50 a month to make sure that right, so we all are familiar with that. So picture the tens of thousands of those that have been created that are still living out there. They all have inaccurate business information basically. So they sort of look like this. So it's kind of like asking 10 random people where to find a local business, and you get 10 different answers. That's if you've Googled any kind of local business at all, you may have noticed even your own business, multiple listings that each have different information or different variations of the same information. It's basically because not only has all of those types of directory sites been built up over the years, but Google has actually changed their own business directory several times, from Google Places to Google Plus Business, back to Google Places to now it's Google My Business. And so in order to get like this type of situation where you're consistent across the board with your accurate information, there's basically two main overall tasks that you have to do. The most important one is verifying your Google My Business page, and so that's your local business listing with Google. So Brian, you might already be pretty familiar with this, and some of you guys might already be familiar, but like I know Samantha works with the urgent care location in Gallatin, and so that would be a good example. So to verify their page, for example, which it may already be verified, is to basically conduct a search on Google and then find the local business listing, which will look like this. It'll look like this over here. So it has a huge amount of real estate on the search engine results pages if you're searching on desktop. And then if you're on the Google map, if you're on the map screen, you can actually click in through the listing, which you can get to from here as well. And then on the maps, you'll see like this little link that says, "Is this your business?" basically. So you can follow that all the way through the process, and Google changes it all the time. So it could be different tomorrow than it is today. But you can follow that through the process and basically request either a postcard gets sent to the physical address that will have a PIN code on it, or you can request a phone call on the spot. But it has to be to the actual physical phone number of the business. And so Google will call you or send you a postcard with the PIN code on it. You enter it into that screen that you would have seen after clicking that button and requesting the PIN code. And once you do that, your listing becomes verified. Then you can make sure that all the information on it is correct. You can actually it's connected through pretty much all things Google. So it's connected through your Google account that you logged in with to get there in the first place. It's connected with your Google Plus page, which Google wants to still keep relevant. So if you make posts to your Google Plus page that's associated with that business listing, it optimizes that listing and it can help you show up. So in this search, for example, that I did here, I searched Spring Hill Smiles. The reason why that came up is because that's the name of the local business listing. But if this business posts often and optimizes that listing and verifies it and fills it all out correctly, in theory, over time, this will show for things like Spring Hill Dentist or Spring Hill Pediatric Dentistry. which is what we talked about earlier, what we really want, like businesses really want to be showing more for those non-branded keywords. So Google has placed this huge amount of emphasis on the local business listing. And that's the Google business listing that's important, mainly because it just gets so much real estate. The other thing that you guys are probably familiar with is when you make a search for Spring Hill Dentist or Spring Hill Insurance Company, you see that like basically the map comes up first. So even if you're optimizing your website for all these keywords, your website listing's coming up below the map. So what I just talked about with the local business listing is something that can get you on the map, which in theory in your local area is easier to do than optimizing all these pages on your website and creating content all the time to try to get to the organic listing, which is now below that. Now I put this screenshot in here because you can also buy the ad to get above the map. And in the third class, we talk about the best way to do that, which is there's Google AdWords, there's a bunch of different products within Google AdWords. So in the third class, we talk more about that. And then the other way, so that's, I wanted to spend more time on Google. The other way where we talked about all of the thousands of business directories, like how do you go through those, right? Well, there's this API, this great company that's based out of New York called Yext, Y-E-X-T. They have an API where they've partnered with all of these tens of thousands of business directories, including some that you're probably already familiar with, like Apple, Bing, Facebook, Foursquare, Snapchat. All of these companies have local business information in them, in the web somewhere, in the profile. And so the Yext API will allow you to essentially, I think for like a one local business, it's like around $20 a month for like one listing. And so they have different partnerships. We have a partnership with them at the agency level. So we have like several hundred listings that we send through. And you guys at Dev Digital might do something similar where you could be like an agency partner. And then that way, if you have a client that has like 100 locations, you get a discount off of, and then your client gets a break too, because otherwise they would have to pay way more and they get your rate. So it's kind of a win-win. And it's very smart because you type in the business information one time per physical location, and in real time the API updates it. So that's all you have to do. And then you get the reports on all of that. So everybody, if I'm a local business owner, I'm like, yeah, right? But then you can show, as the SEO person, you can show that business owner, well, here's the reports, and here's actually all the listings where it's being cleaned up on all these websites. And they can go there and verify a few of them and feel good about it. Now, the reason why that's important for any business, when I say local business, I mean like, the local urgent care or the local dentist or the local pizza place or like that physical location that you would walk into. Linen and Rust would be like a local business where you could optimize that for your storefront location. But then there's brands. So for brands, it's important too, because even like Stewart Transportation, where you might not have people walking in, it's important to clean this up as well because Google gets its SEO information from all the local business directories. So a minute ago I talked about like how does an algorithm sort of validate popularity or validate like business legitimacy and stuff like that. One way they do it is like if your local business directory listings are all clean and up to date, like they all have the same phone number and it's accurate, address and it's accurate and all of that, then your overall SEO rankings will rise as well. So it's like mostly important for local businesses, but don't ignore it if you're a brand or you don't have a storefront locally, because it will help with your organic search to have them all clean. It's detrimental if they're inaccurate. And I think to some extent, so like if you've moved, you want to do that Google verification that I talked about, because chances are you might have a different phone number, but you definitely have a different physical address. And then review generation, Yext, I wanted to kind of throw this in there because along the same lines of all things Google business listing is also the reviews. And so I just want to validate, like if anyone's ever heard that reviews are good, like for SEO, it's true. Obviously positive reviews are better for SEO than negative reviews, but we know from experience and from the data that the only real way to generate any kind of positive reviews is to be really be proactive in that. And so one way to do that is kind of boots on the ground, where like the example I always use is like a local plumbing company actually brings an iPad with them, and they have all their technicians bring an iPad with them and ask the customer like if they're comfortable reviewing right there on the spot. And that like skyrockets local SEO. So a lot of times it's not necessarily, I mean, the back end stuff that the tech geeks like me are doing is helping, but if you can be proactive even with your point of sale location or your where you're actually interacting with your customers and getting them to review you on the spot, that's great. So this is kind of multi-layered because that person from the plumbing company could be doing it on Google. That's great. What would be better is if they're doing it on something like Yext, because they could do it on Yext in the same way where the user just basically fills out sort of a form that looks like name, email, star rating, and comments. But if they did it in Yext, they'd be able to also pick all of these other review sites that it would immediately go to. Instead of just Google, it's going to go to all of them that they pick. And then you can also, through Yext, do a customer list. So if you've missed or you feel like you've missed opportunities to get all these reviews, obviously one thing, probably most of us in this room could honestly just like send one-to-one emails. And that's going to be like a way of, I already have a relationship with this person. If I ask them to review me, surely they're going to do it at some point, and it'll be genuine. But if you have like 5 years worth of customers that have come in and purchased stuff in your store, and you're not going to send one-to-one emails. Maybe the list's like 1,000 people. You could use Yext to upload that list. It can be phone numbers and/or emails, and it can do like an SMS text version as well as an email version of that form. And then you set, I want it to go to all of these review sites or just Google or all 500 of them or whatever. And then the review will immediately go live. Now, so that's amazing for SEO. Obviously, there's going to be some negative reviews. The positives are only going to outweigh the negatives if you're proactive with this approach. And so that's what we recommend.
And a lot of people will ask, like, oh, I have a negative review, how do I get rid of it? You can't, unless it was just malicious and there was real, like, and it wasn't necessarily deserved, you're going to have to just bury it. So unless you're proactive on the front end and you're playing offense, you're going to end up in a situation where, like, our customer has a 1 star, now we're having to go in and bury the 1 star with 5s. So just having that kind of already like the arsenal build up will just be a smart way, just in case you do get somebody that's a little disgruntled, and that's the only way you could do that though.
I know at the urgent care a couple weeks ago we had a patient, like she was previously a patient, and then she came in for some whatever reason, but she got irate, and so we had to call the cops on her, and she totally destroyed our rating on Google. Like, she 1-starred it, and she was saying just like how bad of an experience, but she never fully checked in. Like, we never even checked her in as being, like a patient or a customer. And so then, because she was continuously like harassing us online, the cops went to her house, so then she updated it and told online that we like violated HIPAA violations because we let the cops know that she was at a medical center. And then she had her friends that had never been there, we have no documentation, saying that they had been there, and you're better off going to the butcher shop than going to this medical center because that's exactly. Yeah, and I am like over here like burying it like on my boyfriend's Google account, like this is the best one. And like I'm like, Mom, give me your password. I mean, I'm over here doing damage control, but like you said, I contacted Google. Like it is very malicious because she never checked in. I'm not really sure. I wasn't there at the time when she was trying to like be admitted, like what the reason was, but for her
it was
to
a
get,
psychiatric eval.
Like yeah, all her friends.
How was Google with you? Because we've had good experience with Google.
No.
What did they say?
Like, they told me that first of all they were like, well, we don't even have a department for reviews that handles this. And I was like, that's crazy. You don't have a department that handles reviews, but you're telling me that all these businesses are online and you can't do anything about it? And you know, we have a police report with a number. Like, I could give it to you. They're like, we can't do anything about it. And just...
We usually have really good luck. Facebook, not so much. No. There's no people involved. I swear there's nobody that works there. But with Google, we've had good, like when we need help with anything like analytics or trying to, they've been really good, so I'm kind of surprised. Usually that's not the case.
Do you
I'm
like
glad
respond to them? Like, I know that, like so currently our parking division is lumped in with our transportation division, in which we're separating them because two different audiences.
Oh, yeah.
And we had an irate valet customer who got online and was like, it messed us up, and it was like, it truly came down to a misunderstanding. So I got on and like did damage control on Facebook and had at that time our VP directly call that person, and then they changed the review.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like this person's beyond, like,
It's
past
beyond.
that.
Yeah,
She's
it's-
got like, what's the
yeah.
evidence behind like responding to that and then like correct? How do you make it better?
I mean, I wanted to respond to that, but because it wasn't real, it wasn't like a valid review, and I had already called Google, and I had called them twice. They had, you know, put it in like a profile or whatever. I didn't want to respond to it because maybe they would have thought that it was actually real, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't responded to it, and it's been a while now, like not more than a month since Google was supposed to contact me the second time about whether they would take it down or not. But then they haven't contacted me now, so I'm like, all right, I guess I have to respond and say that this isn't real. But now I have to say that 3 times, you know? So to say like, these individuals, first of all, these two have never checked in before. And then this person, like, this is not a valid issue. So it almost seems like, and those are the only bad ratings that we have. So it almost seems like it could seem like a little fake on our part, you know, saying that this isn't real. But I'm like, I don't know. But.
Yeah, that's like, that sounds like
a digital soap opera right now.
I mean, it could be that, well, like Kate said, we've had some clients that have had some success, at least with Google, saying, we understand that you have documentation that this isn't a legitimate customer.
Mm-hmm.
They never were a customer, they never really did business with you, so then they've put it into like their queue of potentially removing the review, and there's documentation of that, but we've never had a client actually say, well, then they removed the review, so it's never really actually helped. But I think maybe the customer list, if there's a solid customer list of people that you know would be likely to leave a good review, it could be worth doing something like the Yext, where you just basically send them an email one time to try to help bury the negative. Is the negative review like still up? Like,
yeah, it's still up, and since then
viewable?
I am like chasing patients down out of the clinic.
Yeah.
Like, I heard someone say, like, on their way out, like, this is a pleasant place. Like, I ran out of my office, I was like, did you say this is a pleasant place? And the whole medical staff was like, like, are you serious?
You're
I was
doing
like,
it, you're doing
I am
it.
chasing people down at the door. I was like, you know, please review us on Google and let everyone know that this is a pleasant medical experience. I mean, I really don't know what else to do besides actually put a computer in their hand, you know? Like,
Another interesting fact, I think this is crazy, that's just how the world is changing, but we trust a review more than our parents.
Oh yeah.
Like we trust a review like over your mom or your dad. Which kind of, when you think about it, it's like, you know, like I do that for TripAdvisor, like I always pay attention to what they've said about whatever hotel, or I'm looking at those like, but it's true, like you know that.
Pictures and stuff.
Yeah, like we are so, we care about what other people had to say. We're trusting them a lot more than even our own family members. So it does matter, and I think the move is to be on the offensive. So just make sure that you've got some good reviews just for a numbers game, if nothing else.
So I think I'm pretty much done unless anyone has any questions. And then Chris and I are tag team in the next class. But it's kind of funny because like after I did this slide, I got food poisoning at Fulin's, like at this.
No. Yes.
And I have not reviewed this.
Because we're too sick.
Yeah, it was too sick.
But yeah,
I
freelance.
blocked them out mentally.
So next, just another parting little piece, and then we're finished here. I do want to show you and ask if anybody needs help for setting up their business manager. For the next class, we're going to really get into a deep dive into the business manager, ads manager section. Ads manager is a lot more in depth than boosted posts, which is what we covered today. The one thing I will tell you is that I feel like just here a little session here. You will be frustrated with Facebook. You will be frustrated. Even with boosted posts are frustrating. It's not intuitive because they don't care if you don't play, you know? So if you're discouraged, you're doing it right. I mean, if you're frustrated, you're doing it right. There's no magic like silver bullet. All of what I know is because I messed it up 50,000 times and deleted the dang post and did the GIF 50,000 Jaff, whatever.
Well, just even getting into Facebook Business Manager is a pain in the butt.
It's
seriously.
horrible.
So that's actually one of the reasons why.
I know, but the point is that it's because it's number one, it's a long game. So understand that and just write it out. You know, in August, July, we started our data-driven Facebook with 0 followers, and I'm like, it's discouraging. But I will tell you that now we have like 800 followers, and we're doing a lot. You know,
we're into the content groove now too.
It just takes some time, and it does take energy, but I promise the energy is worth it. And then when you receive those reports from your analytics, and you've sold more product, revenue than you have spent on the ad, and that's a special month, but you see that your efforts are definitely worth it. So stay with it, even when you're frustrated. It is annoying, and there is not. What happens is they just keep adding to it, and they just go like, burr. It's almost like when you made a collage, and you're just like, oh, there's a hole. Like that's Facebook to me. Things just smack. There's no rhyme or reason to where things are found. It's just not intuitive. Stick with it. I promise it'll be worth your time. In the long run, but it is.
Does anyone feel free to email me before anyone coming to the next class that wants the Facebook tracking pixel installed or doesn't know if it's installed or needs to get into Facebook Business Manager, anything
Do you
like
know what the Facebook tracking
administrative related.
Okay, so Facebook, I think that's important before Paul geeks out. Facebook tracking pixel is going to tell your website how many people came there because you've linked the web and Facebook to each other. So now they can talk. That's the short answer to that. But if you don't have the Facebook pixel installed, you won't know how that web traffic got to you from Facebook. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So my little URL builder tool where we talked about putting that, that short URL in there and tracking and all that great stuff, those two things will never be married if you don't wed them. I don't know why I used that analogy, but that's good. Next time we meet Wednesday, March 7th, and I'll tell you just quickly for those of you that are not coming, what we're doing, and maybe that that might be something that fits for you. We're going to talk about like an ad strategy, different than content, deploying the targeted newsfeed ads from Facebook and of course Instagram, Business Manager and Ads Manager, which is a beast. And we're going to kind of break that down for you and show you some really cool things that are new as well. Remarketing lookalike audiences, which are really exciting. They're key, I think, to having a successful campaign. Implementing the tracking pixel, which we want it installed. We can help you with that. But then, how is that going to look like once it's implementing? How are you going to use it? And then Twitter and LinkedIn ads. So that's next month if you're interested. And
if anyone wants to ever cover A/B testing, Chris and I just got done setting up an A/B test for a client.
Slow your roll.
So we could do that too.